folks. Welcome back to the second half of our show. And we're just going to keep right on rolling. Duane, when I was a kid, we used to have apple pie with cheese.
Okay.
I have never seen that since 1952.
You don't hear that anymore either.
No! And you'd hear it in restaurants and diners.
Absolutely.
Yeah, give me a hunk of that apple pie with a hunk of cheese, yeah.
I never saw how they, I don't know, maybe I was a fussy eater, but I never thought of eating cheddar cheese with apple pie.
Who knows? You know,
It might be great. It's just something that
it's shame on me. Because I usually, when I come up with something like this, I go to Google. And I say, where did this start? I'm going to do that. I'll hang on to this hunk of paper. And I'll report at the next show what we find out.
Okay.
But it all of a sudden just disappeared.
You're right, it did.
Yeah. Hillary Clinton.
You don't hear of anchovies on pizza much anymore either.
No. Nasty little things.
Can't imagine that.
Man.
I'll eat anchovies, but I'm not. I don't want them on pizza or anything.
No, I like mushrooms on pizza.
I
And
do too.
onions. Okay? And maybe extra cheese.
Yep.
But, it's,
Oh, anchovies.
that's bad. Well, Hillary Clinton made a speech yesterday.
Well,
Fascism could be rearing its ugly head. And she mentioned that fascism in the streets and in the halls of Congress. Well. Was it the halls of Congress or was it the streets of Washington, D.C.? Well, whatever.
it doesn't matter because.
Yep. Again, another attack on Donald Trump. She can't let it go. He beat her. And they really think the key to the election is if they can split the Republican Party.
Well, of course.
They can win.
Split your opponent.
Yep. So where does the Republican Party go? Right now, in a poll by, and I believe it was Pew again, Pew was put out quite a few polls lately, that if the 2024 election were held today, Donald Trump would be elected president over any candidate the Democratic Party had.
That's the key right there because the Democrats put up such a weak president.
Yeah. They really get nothing on their bench. Oh, but guess who threw his hat kind of, well, not back in the ring, but he kind of pitched it in the direction of the ring? Bernie Sanders.
I can't even.
Yeah.
That.
We can't get this stuff through, then I'm going to get it through.
Yeah, well, he's always trying to fly,
Yeah.
He never gets off his seat. But I'll go back to the same thing I said before with him. I can't believe in a nation of 330 million people that we had to come down to Donald Trump and Joe Biden for president.
Yeah.
That
And
was
let me tell
pathetic.
you,
Absolutely pathetic.
if the Democrats put Biden back up, and it'll be ridiculous. But if the Republicans put Trump up, we might as well burn the cities down now.
Yeah,
Because they're going to get burned down.
Yep, it's crazy. Neither one of them should be on that ticket.
Nope.
Nor should
But
Kamala
by the
Harris.
same token, mobs should not be able to control who the hell's on
Yes,
the
that's true.
But that's what we've degenerated to. Hey, have you heard the old saying, more is better? More is always better.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Well, in Washington, D.C., they had 200 murders. 198 murders last year, and the year before was 166. So more is better, I guess.
I guess sometimes it is. According to them.
Okay.
Just like, you know, they make statistics that, well, Boston, for example, with their violent crime, their crime rate has been going up. But
Yeah.
murders somehow are flattened or down, but they got more shootings. That's just to me that they're
Doesn't
getting
make
poor
sense.
shots.
Poor shots, that's right.
You know, just by luck they
It
didn't
is
kill them.
kids having access to guns,
Yep.
and they're just shooting the
They're
damn
just
things.
shooting, yeah.
Thank God they're lousy shots.
That's right.
The border czar. What exactly is Vice President Kamala Harris doing? The American public should demand an accounting of this hideous practical joke by President Biden. Of course, Biden doesn't talk to anybody.
Yeah. And Kamala Harris doesn't. She's a typical vice president. Somebody said something about what's the problem. What does a vice president do? Their primary function is to go to state funerals. Somebody said, well, you better buy a dark suit because that's what you're going to be doing is going to funerals. They don't have a function. They're there in case. It's like, it's just, you sit over there, but just in case we need you, in case the president dies. So we got a body to put into the spot. But they have very little function.
You're right. You're right.
And when they do, they usually cause trouble.
Well, yeah.
Somewhat. But,
you can't. You've got to stay in lockstep with the president.
Well, you do.
Yeah.
Because look what happened with Truman and FDR.
Yeah.
He didn't even talk to Truman.
Truman did not even know about the Manhattan Project.
That's right.
Yeah.
He wasn't even in the loop in that.
Yeah. I mean, the big meetings, he was told to go hang his hat someplace else, obviously.
Yeah, for the Manhattan Project, I know you guys know it, but, you know, like my wife wouldn't, if you said Manhattan Project, she would have no interest. It was the
Think of
development of the
something
atomic bomb. She wouldn't have.
The invention of the drink.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I know.
If she sees this, I'm dead.
But the Manhattan Project was when we developed the nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
During World War II.
And it was all hands on deck.
It was indeed. It was a project. And yet, he was shielded from it completely, as he was referred to as the haberdasher.
Yeah.
Now, here's something puzzling, Duane. And I'm going to ask you to explain this to me. The manufacturing of cryptocurrency.
Bill, you're going into an area I don't understand cryptocurrencies.
Well, there was a blip. The manufacture of cryptocurrency uses huge amounts of electricity.
Yes, I understand that, but I don't understand
A headline in Texas states the companies in Texas doing this use more electricity in 1 year than the city of Houston. Now, what the hell do they do with the electricity?
As I understand it, and this is, I'm sure there's 95% of people understand cryptocurrency better than I do.
Well, it's 100% in my case.
But it has a value because it's rare, because it's done with mathematical formulas that are complex as hell, I guess, to get these things to come together. Now, why that has a value, other than the fact that it's hard to get, is, I guess, the value of the cryptocurrency.
Is to make it rare.
Yeah.
And make it tough to counterfeit?
Yeah, apparently, but I guess now there's some breaks in the wall and some leaks that these people are starting to, they call it mining.
Mining, right.
And these terms are so misleading. When I heard that, I thought they dug it out of the ground. But it to me, and here's another thing.
Well, they're using rare earths.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But another thing, and I was always under the impression that we had a law that you could not start up a competing currency to the U.S. dollar, U.S. currency. Here, you got Bitcoin and everything else functioning as a currency. Did they change the law? Or is it something, I didn't understand it, which is very possible.
It doesn't, there's a little loophole here where, well, you can't use it to go into the grocery store and spend it or stuff, but you can use it to electronically transfer huge amounts of money or something like that.
And from apparently, it's the value, most of it's built on speculation.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they first came out, this Bitcoin was worth about $1.
Yeah.
And now what is it, $60,000 or something?
No, it's around 38,000.
38,000.
today,
Well, I mean, it's
By
ridiculous.
The way, up and down.
Yeah.
That baby travels up and down all the time.
This to me is to put, say, a retirement fund of vets and crypto. To me, I would vote no if I was head of.
You get that right.
Because I think this thing's going to tumble.
Let me ask you a question. I'm offended by this story because these people that are using electricity at this rate to manufacture stupid coins, all right, this is an abomination. How much oil, how much natural gas, how much coal does it take to generate enough electricity for the city of Houston? Well, it's one hell of a pile of energy. And for what?
Mm-hmm.
For some elusive sort of quasi-coin of some sort?
The coin is just a symbol. It really doesn't make
Right.
It doesn't make anything. It just makes the coin indicates it's a token of something.
Yeah. And it costs $38,000 to buy one. Or whatever. Yeah.
It's nuts.
It's madness. You know what? At my house, I have a glass jar that pickles came in.
Yep.
And I also have a small-sized little cookie jar. The cookie jar has pennies, and the clear pickle jar has silver, quarters, nickels, dimes. That's my method of separating
I used to do that too. When I was traveling, you always came home with your pants full of coins.
Yeah.
And I have the bucket thing by the end of my dresser, and I didn't separate them. I just throw them in.
I had a small little piece of Tupperware that I carried in my overnight bag, or my big bag, I guess, in with my socks and everything. That's where I'd throw my coins in the whole week.
Yep.
But
I remember going to, I remember earlier days when you had to roll them.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you spent days on putting 50 pennies in a tube.
And then you bring them up to the bank, and the first thing they do is they dump them out.
That's right.
And I went berserk over that. They said, well, we're going to count them. I said, you're going to sit there and count them? No, we're going to put them in a coin counter. Yeah. I said, well, why the hell can't you do that when I bring a bucket of them in? Then there'd be a long line of people.
Yeah, well, they told me on I don't know what it used to. It's Rockland Trust now and downtown.
Foxborough National Bank. That used to be owned by the Foxborough Company.
Couple of companies there.
Yeah.
And they would say, if you bring them in when we're not busy, we'll count them for you. But other than that, you got to roll them. And now they got a machine there that you can use with no charge.
Oh, okay.
It's right in the lobby. If you got an account there, otherwise they charge you a percentage, whatever it is. And you just dump them in. Because the last time I went in, it's probably 2 years ago, I just said I could get rid of these things. It was about $350 worth of coins in there. And they want your coins now.
Yes. Yeah.
Because there's a severe coin shortage.
Yeah.
Well, but if you take them to the Stop and Shop with that,
you pay 8 or 9%.
Yeah, they charge you unless you take a gift card. You can take if you like the Stop and Shop card.
Okay.
There's no charge for that.
Oh, all right. Okay, I've got important stuff here now.
Okay, good. Now we're getting to the meat of the day. Please.
The island of Nantucket is going to vote in May at the annual town meeting on the proposal that women allowed to be topless at the beaches. Should we take a position on this as the TV show?
Oh, I think we should.
Okay.
We're known for picking up important causes here. I'm going to vote yes.
I voted yes too.
Okay, that's
right.
done.
That's
I don't know why they
unanimous.
have to have a meeting then.
Then the Bill Crane report is unanimously
Actually,
behind topless women.
A couple of years ago, there was a town in Vermont
Yeah.
that the young ladies were gathering on the town center there on their blankets topless. And it raised all kinds of billy hell among the town. Some said great, some said you're wicked, you're a harlot, and you're ruining the town. And it went to Vermont court somehow. And lo and behold, they decided that it's okay. Because men can go topless,
Right.
and there's nothing wrong with it.
Nothing wrong with it.
You can't say now if the men can do it, the women can't.
That's right. That's right. And in this day and age,
That's right.
women are wearing pants just like guys.
But of course, like a lot of things, once they said it's okay, then it kind of died off because they weren't getting the attention and they weren't getting the headlines on it
I
anymore.
was down in Lakeland, Florida. I like Lakeland. It's much better than staying in Tampa. It's like 15 or 20 miles outside of, and that's where the business is out that way anyway. So, at the Holiday Inn, which I always stayed at. So, I was, I tell you, I was sitting and reading a book in the middle of the afternoon. I can only imagine that my afternoon got canceled. Which, by the way, when you're on the road, I don't know how good you were, but I would average about 1 out of every 4 appointment getting canceled.
Yeah, that would be about right.
Yeah.
You
Well,
get there and he's in a meeting and
Yeah.
he's gone for the
The
day.
meeting's lasting too long, and he said, I got another meeting afterwards, and I was going to squeeze you in, but drop dead.
Yeah,
Or,
I got that all the time.
yeah, and
That was just the hazard of the game.
yeah. I actually arrived at one meeting down in Louisiana. There's this black smoke coming up from one of the back units.
Mhm.
And I said, man, I'm burning off something, I guess. And I went in and they said, no, Ed is busy. I don't know whether you noticed that black cloud or not, but it's not supposed to be there. That's where he is.
That's where he is.
That was the best excuse ever.
Yep.
But I was in Lakeland, and I was sitting outside reading my paperback book, and this gorgeous lady came and took her top off of her bikini and laid face down on her lounge or whatever the hell it is. Well, after she got baked on one side, she rolled over and laid on her back.
Mhm.
Well, I was on the other side of the pool. I decided it was time I went back in the motel. It was getting hot out, and I needed the air conditioning to cool off. So I walked around the pool and checked her out up close. And you know what she said to me? Get lost, pervert.
You're the pervert, huh?
How did she know?
I don't know.
Have I got pervert written all over me?
I don't know. My wife thinks I do.
Of course, I could have gone 6 steps the other way from where I was sitting and gone out through the gate, but I chose to go all the way around.
Okay. My son is 63, 50, 49. And the first time we went to Disney World he would have been 6 or 5 or 6. So you know how long ago it was. And Disney didn't have much. There was only the Magic Kingdom yet. That was that one park.
Yep.
And I think only had 1 or 2 hotels, and they were real expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So we stayed up on International Drive. It was all hotels and restaurants and stuff in Orlando. we didn't know. I'd never been to Orlando before. We picked out of a, I don't know, brochure somehow. I don't know how we picked, but we happened to pick a place that was the favorite of French Canadians.
Aha. And
Very good pick.
dear ladies,
Yeah,
I used to go in topless.
they think that this is the Caribbean something, you know. So, God, we got to the pool and there's a bunch of them, and nice, beautiful women. And of course, my son, they right away he gets hooked up with these Canadian kids. You know, they're of course they're playing in the pool and everything. And every day we'd come back from the park and we'd hear out there, "Hey, Craig," and that French accent, come out,
Wherever you are.
yeah, come play." And so I said, "Well, I gotta get out of this pool, get a beer."
Damn.
And Monica, on the other side, she said, "Could you not stare?" I said, "I'm staring." She's like, "Hell, you're not staring." So I would talk to these women just to prove I wasn't staring. Monica's, look him in the eye for a change.
You know what the solution to that problem is? Sunglasses.
Sunglasses in a newspaper with holes cut in it. A friend of mine, they went to St. Martin, and they were teasing their father. They went along, and Grandpa, you know, he said, well, he said he doesn't pay any attention to that. She said he was sitting on the beach reading a newspaper, and kind of like, every once in a while they said, "Grandpa, turn the newspaper right side up." He wasn't even looking at the paper.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, talk about funny things. We're getting way off the subject, but I was in New Jersey. I stayed outside of New York City, in North Jersey, and I was making sales calls with my distributor down there. So I went back to the hotel, and he said, "Now, what are you going to do?" He says, "Are you going to stay overnight and go back tomorrow morning, or drive back tomorrow morning, or what?" And I said, "You know, I don't know. I checked out, but, you know, we had had a couple of brews in the afternoon. You know what? I may just get a room and I can justify it. You know, we got back to late from those sales calls, you know." And so I went in the lobby, and he said, "Well, let me buy you a beer." I said, "Okay." So I sat there. Now a lady comes in with a guy on a leash.
Only a guy on a leash. Does he got one of them funny collars with his... Oh, I know. I got a good idea what that is.
And then we had a guy come in with red spike heels, and women's makeup on. Well, after about 4 of these kinds of people filtered through, I said to the waitress, I said, "What's going on with..." She said, "Tonight is the cross-dressers annual ball."
Well, lucky you.
And I said, "Really?" She said, "Let me tell you something." She said, "If you stick around, you're going to see one of everything tonight." So I went right to the front desk, banged out. Sold out. Not a room left.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I missed it.
Oh, I would have found a table down there and just watched the show.
It was beautiful. I got to read this story, but first of all, I got another one that I've been aging here.
Well, open the vault and bring it out.
New Hampshire seeks ban on teacher-student sex.
I always thought there was a ban for several years now.
Yeah, I always thought there was laws against
Yeah.
this. But in New Hampshire, they have submitted a pair of bills that would close a loophole in their sexual assault laws by criminalizing any sexual contact between school officials and students less than a year after a former Concord, New Hampshire high school teacher was arrested in Massachusetts and charged with raping a child. I hope we can all agree it's never appropriate for a teacher to engage in any sort of romantic or sexual relationship with a student, said the governor.
What was the loophole? I can't imagine they would have a loophole.
Must have been the way the stupid law was.
Oh, I'm sure it's the way it's
written,
worded.
That some lawyer found a missing word or something.
Yeah.
But in his letter to the Senate Judiciary Committee, Sununu said he was troubled by an incident between a teacher and a student who attended Concord High School, which was not considered a crime and thereby not reported to authorities because the student had reached the age of consent.
I don't think that really made a difference, did it? Because it's...
Well, yeah, if she's over 18.
Yeah, but if she's still a student.
Well, apparently
It did that.
it did that, yeah. Yeah, I guess this has happened before. And that because they were over the age, but still a student, they weren't able to prosecute them. Okay, I should have read that a little bit better. I do have a couple of interesting polls. In a recent poll by Fox News, they asked for a random sampling of U.S. citizens. What concerns you the most among a wide variety of topics?
I saw one of those.
The results.
Yeah.
Number one, immigration.
Yeah.
Now, this was before the Ukraine war.
This was actually in the Globe.
Immigration, number one. The economy, number two.
Yep, I remember that.
Crime, number three. Health, number four. Social equality, number five. And climate change, number six.
Yeah.
Well, that was the Fox News poll.
Mm-hmm.
And I now have the Boston Globe poll.
Well, they ran that first one there. I saw that in the Globe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
they probably got another one there.
maybe you saw two different ones, but the results are very similar.
Okay.
In the Globe, Massachusetts residents were asked what the highest priority issues were. Number one, health care. Number two, education. Number three, jobs and the economy. Now, you can throw a hat over those three numbers.
Okay.
They're all here. Energy and fuel costs are number four. Taxes, number five. And climate change in last place.
Yeah,
Now, I got to just finish this up.
Okay, go ahead.
The poll, now this was a note at the bottom of the poll. Poll includes oversampling of Black, Latino, and Asians. Now, what the hell difference would that make?
Because you can skew a poll that way.
Yeah.
You're not taking a random sample. You're taking if you said, should we give $100,000 or $50,000 reparations to every black person in the state, and you went across the state, you'd get a certain percentage.
Sure.
If you took it to Roxbury, that would be skewed so far. But if you don't tell that you oversampled and didn't do a random sampling, then the poll is
So
actually,
this brings me to my concern.
that poll is probably worthless.
Yeah,
If you're going to do that.
it
Yeah,
is.
absolutely.
Absolutely worthless. But how many polls have we seen in the globe where they've done this?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They'll tailor polls, like to tailor the results before they take the poll.
Oh, yeah. Like,
It's like an attorney goes into a court and says, never ask a question that you don't know the
that's
answer to.
exactly right. Yes.
Yep.
So that's when there's a Hispanic issue.
Oh.
Oh, well, let's go to Lowell.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And poll up there. Yeah. I mean, give me a break. Ordinarily, I would not consider reading something this long on the show. But this is a brilliant summation by Judge James C. Ho, H-O, of the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, prepared for a House subcommittee hearing on the importance of a diverse federal judiciary. Once everybody has had full and fair opportunity to be considered, you pick on the merits. Both the Constitution and the Civil Rights Act make clear that it is wrong to hire people based on race.
Oh, I agree with that. Or age, or of course, age. You can't hire somebody that's 12 years old.
Right.
But I mean,
Yes.
anybody it's in the qualifying
Yes.
group.
Yeah.
Anything that you take out of that, it's bias,
Yep.
or it's racial, or it's sexist. It can be classified that way.
That's the law for a wide range of jobs. But it would be especially wrong to select judges based on race.
Oh,
It is true.
I so agree with that. It's unbelievable.
Yep. It is true that I am the only Asian American on my court. I'm also the only immigrant on my court. But I would never suggest that a wise Asian would be more often than not able to reach a better conclusion than a white judge. That would be anti-ethical to our legal system and poisonous to civil society. No one should ever assume that I'm more likely to favor Asians or immigrants or anyone else, or that my colleagues are less likely to. I don't say this because I think race is no longer an issue in our country. I've received racist hate mail and racially disparaging remarks because of positions I've taken in my career. I've been treated differently because of who I'm married to. And I also remember back in high school, my college admissions advisor telling me that my grades, SAT scores, and activities were all strong enough to get me into my top choice of school if I wasn't Asian. Now, I'm not saying any of this here to complain. Whatever negative experiences I've had, they pale in comparison to my many blessings living in this great country. I was not born an American, but I thank God every day that I will die an American. My point is just that I don't come to my views because I think racism is behind us. Rather, I come to my views precisely because racism is not behind us. The last thing we should do is divide people by race. The last thing we should do is suggest the racists are right. We don't achieve equality of opportunity by denying it to anyone. We achieve it by securing it for everyone. So make no mistake, it would be profoundly offensive and un-American to tell the world that you're restricting a judgeship to members of only one race. It's offensive to people of other races. And it's offensive to people of that race because you're suggesting that was the only way they'll get the job if you rig the rules
right.
in their favor.
I read that when that came
Yep.
out. He's
And,
right.
Now, just think of the actions of the Democratic Party
Oh,
in choosing the Vice President of the United States.
And
It had to be a black woman,
And the nomination for
and
the
the
Supreme Court.
nomination for the Supreme Court,
I
it had to
cringed
be
when they did
a
that.
black woman.
I
I mean,
cringed.
that is, you know, this is so eloquent and so honest and so right on that it really makes your blood boil
It
when
does.
you think that, and I think we expressed it on this show, that was wrong. You're excluding 94% of the population.
Exactly. And what happened in the past, you can't make up for it by making another wrong today.
No, it's like Harvard. They're going to pony up. Is it $400 million?
$100 million to start with.
$100 million to start with for reparations for slavery.
Yeah, because it was 40 or 60 maybe housemaids or whatever
Yes.
over the years.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine, but who are you going to give it to? They said, well, the descendants.
Oh, good luck finding
Good luck
them.
finding that.
Yeah.
All you got to do is put an ad in some paper and say, any descendant of,
Well,
and you're going to be.
did you see a couple of the gravestones? A picture of
Yeah,
a couple
yeah, I
of the
did.
gravestones? Judy Negro,
Yeah,
house servant of
so-and-so, yeah.
Well, good luck tracing that.
Yeah. Plus,
I mean, the whole idea behind reparations is wrong anyway.
well, of course it is.
I mean,
Who
good Lord.
If you give reparations to the, say, the fourth generation for a wrong that was done in the first generation, what about the fifth generation? Now what about the sixth generation? Now about the generations that aren't born yet further down the line? You can never stop.
How about reparations to the family of the white men that died during the Civil War to free the slaves?
That's right.
Why shouldn't we be paying them off?
This
too?
subject is so full of traps and circles and things. You cannot deal with it.
It's, Harvard, you know, sometimes people become consumed with guilt.
Oh,
But the guilt
yeah.
of 350 years ago, get over it, man.
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
And another thing that really irritates me is associated guilt, or guilt by association, or guilt by the fact that you're a white man or you're a black man, therefore you're guilty of this. And you're not. You just happen to be white, and the perpetrator happened to be white. It's like saying, well, you're white, so you're guilty of mass murder because you had a mass murder guy that was in Las Vegas, and he was white, and he shot all them people in the parking lot of the casino.
Yeah.
Well, that had nothing to do with us.
No, nothing to do with us at all. It's crazy. But there's so many other things they could have done with that.
Oh, well, I said before, I just cringed when they say, well, we have to hire or elect a woman of color, or a man to do this, or a woman to do that. It's nuts. It is wrong. It's just blatantly wrong. Because your first qualification is racial, or sexist, or both. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But it's not a fair qualification of qualification.
Well, very interesting little story in California. The California State Court threw out the California law that dictated how many women and how many women of color, and how many Latinos, and how many indigenous Americans had to be on a board of directors
Yeah.
of
A
companies.
Yeah, a corporation.
Yeah, corporations, independent corporations. They threw it out.
Absolutely absurd.
That it's got to be done on the qualifications of the individual. Because they were having, I guess, trouble finding qualified people. Amazing. You know, oh, this is great. Do you know what drives me crazy? Well, crazier. It's when I see a guy walking a dog carrying a poop bag. And I said, this is it, a snapshot of my hero, masculine America.
I saw a cartoon about that one day. There's this little flying saucer up here, and the two Martians or aliens are looking down. This guy's scooping up poop, and he says, "I think we're wrong on who's master and who's slave there."
I don't know. I irrationally hate the guy whenever I see somebody doing that. Ay, ay, ay.
I hate even worse if he doesn't do it in my yard. Oh, we had trouble with that in the town we lived in before here. We had a guy in the neighborhood, a big white German Shepherd, and let him run. Never pooped in his own yard.
Yeah.
Pooped in the neighbor's yard.
Headed for foreign territory. Yep.
Mine. You know, I was painting the house one day, and I'm climbing that ladder, and I'm thinking, what the? I look down, and there's this dog do all over my ladder. I was so mad. I think if that dog would have came in my yard, I'd have shot him. I wanted to shoot the owner.
Yeah, well, you should have shot the owner.
Yeah.
Poor dog didn't know any better. Here's an interesting set of statistics. The Washington Post poll in February of 2020, not that long ago.
Yep.
How many people polled want to repeal the Second Amendment to the Constitution, the right to keep and bear arms?
Now, is this kind of a poll, national poll?
Washington Post poll, I really don't know. But let's say it's Virginia, Washington, D.C.
Yeah, that's quite a mix. That goes from one to the other.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, we repeal it? 40%.
21%.
21%.
Even among Democrats, you break Democrats out, the answer was only 39%.
Yeah.
That means that nearly 80% of the population supports
Yeah.
the Second Amendment. Those are higher numbers than I've ever seen before.
Yeah. Well, I think today people are turning to weapons, defensive weapons, more than they have more than they had in the past.
Biggest increase, women.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Our friends that live in Texas, I mean, I never thought Barb would. Sorry, Barb. I never thought she'd, get a 9mm and take lessons, but she does. I expected her husband maybe to do it. They both did, and I think she's probably a better shot than he is. we had some friends that he shot skeet or trap, one or the other, and she said he was really enthusiastic about it. And she said, "I'd like to try that." He says, "You can't hit anything like that." He says, "I want it." So he bought herself. He bought her an inexpensive shotgun, took her out to the trap range. She turned out she could beat him on every 25 shots. She was 50% better than him. He got mad and quit.
I in basic training we had the rifle range on a rainy day.
Mm-hmm.
My glasses kept.
Oh yeah.
I didn't fire expert. I fired sharpshooter. I missed expert by a couple of shots. I can shoot a rifle. And I can tell you something. With a pistol, I'm better off throwing the pistol at somebody.
So I got $100 a month propay for the 38 snub nose. I never had a target ever. Ballpoint pen worked perfect. Just poke a hole in it. Nobody hit that silhouettes. I mean, they could have used those all year long, and nobody would put a hole in them.
Oh, that's great. Well, that was like over in Germany. Okay, guys. So tomorrow, Saturday, we're going to have PT test. Victor will, the company clerk, will fill out the forms in case any of you miss it. Saavedra would. He was my roommate. So I got to fill out the forms. He said, "What do you want for a score?"
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, God. You know, you can laugh at it now.
Yeah, we have to go to Columbus to the state police firing range, and they ran the range. They just shook their head and laughed.
Yeah.
You guys are pathetic.
So there was a letter to the editor about mail-in ballots. It was in the Herald the other day. Massachusetts citizens have been able to get to the polls for over 200 years now.
Yeah.
Yet Democrats want to provide their base with mail-in ballots, believing their voter base are all incapacitated. Mail-in ballots are another form of government assistance. Polling places are open to the public for over 12 hours. Business is required by law to provide employees time off to vote. In the 42 years of voting, I've always found time to vote in person. There is absolutely no accountability or verification built into mail-in ballots. Voting is a privilege in this country. It is not a right. And by providing mail-in ballots, Democrats just made it a right without proof of citizenship or residency.
You get no argument from me because I'm an advocate of for example, a national ID. You go
Look
to
what
vote.
I wrote in the sidebar.
Like
In addition, we need to provide a photo ID.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
You go to the Big Y in Franklin there and buy a 6-pack of Yingling. You got to show an ID at the register.
Yeah.
Even the old farts like you and I got
I
to
know
show
it.
an ID.
I know it.
Well, you're voting, for Christ's sake. You should be able to be who you are.
Down to Pawtucket, down to the Red Sox
Well, if you
games.
couldn't get a beer
Yeah.
down there without showing it.
And I'd go up, I'd tell Patrick, I'm going to go to the men's room. Do you want a beer? Oh, yeah. So I'd have to show him.
Sure.
I says, not even for me, it's for my kid. He says, I know, it's really stupid. Voting, this big push to get everyone to vote mystifies me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yet we talk of the importance of an intelligent, well-informed electorate. So why do we want to force, coax, cajole people who have no interest in politics, who are not well-informed, and have no interest in voting? Why do we want them to vote? Isn't that a recipe for disaster? Why is their vote so important when they themselves have no desire to vote?
That's right.
Or, let me put it another way. Your child needs a complex, life-threatening operation. Do you take them to Mass General or to an obscure, small, behind-the-times combination health-centered dance academy? And when it comes to choosing a surgeon, don't you ask for the best you can find? You certainly don't choose a surgeon who lost his license a couple of times due to incompetence and is currently on medical probation and also has a problem with alcoholism. Think about it, folks. Doesn't make a lot of sense to drag people kicking and screaming to the polls. I cannot understand why people say we've got to get everyone to vote.
Yeah, we don't. There's an underlying reason in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those that don't vote or have no interest will probably vote a certain way. That's the group that they're trying to pull into.
Well, I think it's a group that they would like to identify and let me help you to the polls.
Exactly.
I'll help you fill it out. It's not complex. See the D's? Mark that beside
Yeah,
there.
well, we don't have to say who it is, but we know what group they're
Exactly.
paging to.
Recently at Mass, we were asked to pray for the 3 most at-risk groups in the country: the unborn, the indigent, and the elderly. Ask yourself, what does Norfolk do for these 3 groups? I can't tell you.
No, nothing.
Somewhere
very little.
between nothing and less than
Yeah.
nothing. What do they do for the elderly? Huh?
No, we are. What was YUPS mean? What, young urban?
Yeah.
I forgot what it's an acronym.
Yeah, the Eppies.
Yeah, the YUPS, and that's what we've got a lot of people that are young, professional. They don't give a twit about the elderly. To
They
them,
don't.
that's something that I'm never going to be elderly, but they will be someday.
Yeah.
But
I see it. Well, you and I both see it.
mm-hmm.
And when I go in to see one of the elderly up to Hillcrest,
Yep.
and I go in and say, well, I've come to bring you something you asked for. I know that, well, one woman, she couldn't afford to buy the medication
Yeah.
that the doctor prescribed for her. It was $600.
Yep.
And she owed almost $200. Was her part of the payment. And, so Susie called her because she knows her and said, look, we need the prescription.
Yeah.
We'll go get you the medication. And we did. The friends paid for it. And to have her cry
Yeah.
about us being so helpful
5.
and so wonderful.
Yep.
You mean to say there's not a town agency that couldn't be handling this?
There should be.
Yeah, you're darn right there should
But
be.
wait a second. But this town, we do have Norfolk. It's a different mindset than some towns. We have somewhat of a I me. I'm well-to-do. I got mine. I don't dislike you if you're not, or you're elderly, or you're infirm. It's just that I don't want to concern myself with it.
Yeah, go away.
Yeah, or just don't bother me with it. That in itself is bad, but it doesn't make them necessarily a bad person. But it makes them an unconcerned person and not a charitable person. But this is pretty much like what I think what we are in town. We don't.
Oh, yeah. No, so these questions I ask are rhetorical. I already know
Oh, of course.
the answers to them, and that's what we've become. And I coined the phrase many years ago, all by myself. We are the hooray for me, screw you
Yeah,
generation.
exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just changed the words around a little bit. You probably can envision what it really
Yeah,
is.
of course.
Yeah.
But you can look at it. We vote for things that's going to hurt the elderly and the fixed income. Tax-wise, we vote for things that don't mean anything to anybody. But it's yuppie. It's do something. It's isn't this wonderful? But yet, we're not concerned about the people that are going to lose their homes because of the rising real estate tax. We're not up and up like we got what is it, $200 billion or some damn thing in surplus, a lot of money anyway. And Baker proposed like doubling the circuit breaker tax for seniors.
Right.
And this circuit breaker tax, I think it's about $1,100 you get back. That makes or breaks some of these people who stand in their own home that they've been there their whole life, but they're right on the edge of the real estate tax going up now and up and up and up, of losing that home. But you won't see any outrage. They'll say, no, we don't want that. We don't need that.
No, don't need it.
Don't need it.
No.
We'd rather put in some flower gardens on the circle, or do something.
Actually, the town doesn't do that. That's volunteers that do that.
Well, I know, but they would divert it off to something else.
Yeah. You know what it is? Part-time politicians. You know, they're probably doing in their mind the best they can.
Yeah.
But you know, when you got a full-time job, when you got a full-time family, you got damn little time left over to research subjects that you need to for the next meeting.
Yep.
So in many cases, they're probably doing as well as they can.
Mm-hmm.
But down it all, some cases is not good enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe it's another form of government. I don't know. Maybe we need to go to a council and a town manager.
Mayoral and
manager,
somehow.
town manager or a mayor. Yeah. And just say, you know what, you're it, bud. No coming to the selectmen and asking for permission to do that or do it. You're it.
Yeah. Well, if we could just change attitudes here too, it would be a lot better.
Attitudes are important. Yep. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. Things should be a lot better than they are.
Well, we're trying.
Yep. We'll finish on this. The great bipartisan president who knows how to reach across the aisle. Where is this skill, you ask? Look at the border, the immigration policy, crime reform. Social Security is broken. Medicare is broken. Taxes, individual and corporate taxes. Education. Education's being led by AOC and Bernie, not by the Democrat Party. The Green New Deal. Afghanistan, that mess. And the timid approach to the Ukraine. Where is this guy that says, I know how to reach across the aisle and reach a bipartisan
Almost
agreement?
everything, with the exception of a couple of things that you mentioned, are fixable. And they're fixable relatively easy.
They are.
There's nothing there that can't be fixed. Maybe Ukraine is a quagmire right now that we probably will discuss next time.
You know what? You're absolutely right. We will.
But the rest of that stuff, you and I could have come up with the solutions on most of them.
You know what? If we got, and I've said this before, if we got a half a dozen people together.
That's right.
And got 3 cases of Yingling beer.
You got
and
it.
sat down, in 2 hours we could solve all these problems.
Yep, the world will be different.
That's right. Maybe we ought to try that. Folks, it's been a pleasure and a privilege to be with you. I hope you, I don't think you learned anything.
Got any comments? Again, my email is my name, Duane Weiss, DuaneWiss at Comcast.net. Let me know. We'll respond. Want to come, want to talk to us here? We'll do that too.
Yep. Call the station, NCTV, leave a message.
Get back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything you want us to talk about? Do it. By the way, 2 lowest unemployment rates in the country. Nebraska and Utah, 2%.
Yep.
How about that? All right, folks, we'll see you next time.
All right, thanks, Spring.